I always name all of my replays, but I'm not exactly sure what happened during this one. I just know I went up against some roaches, so I'm not sure if this is me going up against a wall off. If it is, that's certainly one of my questions, but we will find out together, I guess.
Heck yeah. So, how do we drone up? You always seem like you have to be building units. Droning seems risky. Do you sprinkle drones in each macro cycle to mimic constant SCV production, like against the other races? When do you transition from Ling Bane to the next stage? I watched Pig Daily. I noticed this was stage 1 of 3. Haven't you looked up further Pig Dailies to the next steps? Current thought is a drop a Roach Warren after the first wave of Ling Bane to prep for transition if and when it comes. I'm playing Ling Bane. What are the reverse wall-offs or 2-base Roach, and how do you deal? So, basically the plan, right? So I'm just gonna like be watching your play, but really focus more on do you have 2 monitors? Sorry.
I have a secondary computer on the side.
Okay, so you can see the notes and the game at the same time?
Oh yeah.
Okay, focus mostly on the notes for now. So basically what we really want to be doing with that stage 1, I guess we'll just kind of write this. We'll just do this underneath here. Okay, so stage 1, right? ZvZ. So the whole point here is really to give us the simplest possible environment to practice Ling Bane micro. Now, obviously, because we're doing a bit of an all-in, essentially, it's just literally, you know, there is no transition, right? And we're happy to, even if we recognize a situation where there's a wall off or something like that, or our first waves get deflected and they now have 5 queens out front plus banelings. And future Ling Bane waves probably aren't going to work, but we're still going to keep trying because it gives us blinders. You know, like the things they put on the horse eyes so they can't get freaked out by like traffic next to them and stuff. I think that's like the perfect analogy for what we want to do StarCraft wise, where giving yourself a set of restrictions is going to get you to get very creative and a very deep knowledge of what you're focused on within those blinders. So you might be surprised by how good you get at pulling wins out of your ass with Ling Bane, even when you really had no business winning. And you do this all the way up to really, really high level. So essentially, obviously we're going to talk about how to actually properly deal with a wall off if we don't want to just all in, because it becomes a much simpler all in that scenario for sure. There is no transition. We still bust first wall off builds, and go completely all in. And basically, we really want to make sure we get super tight on your opening. So let's make sure we maybe benchmark when our first wave hits is probably a good idea. I'm going to guess it should be about 345, I would imagine, usually. If you've, say, hidden 2 banelings somewhere on the map, which I already see in this replay, your Zerglings are going to hide somewhere, which makes me very happy. I see far too many players just sit right underneath their opponent's overlords and just morph banelings there, and I'm like, what are we doing? Be aware of your opponent's vision.
I do try to dodge their overlords, too.
Good.
The banelings getting hidden is not something I do every game, but it's sometimes.
It really makes a big difference. And because Ling speed should kick in about 330, you guys are both a little late on it, so let's take a look. I think you just forgot to start yours, right? I think that's what happened there. Because I'm pretty sure you had the 100 gas for a little bit. Let's check. So first things first, do we pull off minerals onto gas, or do you just rally onto it? Okay, so you're just rallying onto it. In ZvZ, you always want to pull workers off. In the other matchups, to be fair, against PROTOSS, I often pull straight onto the gas as well. But against PROTOSS and TERRAN, it's not as important, your Ling speed timing. But because, especially, we're going to be in Ling Bane skirmishes, if their Ling speed finishes 5 or 10 seconds faster than us, they could like jump on a bunch of our Lings and kill them or something like that. And likewise, we could jump on a few of their Zerglings if they're a bit too far out on the map. So that's, I guess, kind of our first note here.
Okay, so the gas finishes, you take 3 off the mineral line, rip them onto gas, and then you just rally to the mineral line to finish off the mineral saturation, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just doing it in reverse. Sure.
Yeah, we just finish off the minerals with the last eggs. That's right. So 3 onto gas immediately. So usually the thing is, if you look at it with the timing of that, you only really need to pull 1 off minerals onto the gas to do that, because you've got like 2 popping, right? So you see how this one automatically goes into it as it finishes, and the next one's going to be there like a second later. So if you just pulled 1 more worker to go on it, and it would pop in the moment this first drone pops out, and then this third one would come in, and you'd have no downtime.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's a lot more subtle than I originally thought.
Yeah, just pull one off, 3 onto gas immediately, pull 1 off minerals. Easy peasy. Okay. Awesome. All right, other than that, what was I talking about? Basically, stage 1 is super all in, and it's all about the system, right? It's all about the system of the micro. So all about the micro system. So have you found yourself getting comfortable with stealing the banelings onto a different key?
Stealing the banelings onto a different key is something I do just by habit, so that is not a problem. Something I did notice in the Pig Daily though was you had a base camera, like one of your base cams, and I can sacrifice a base cam to a particular location somewhere outside of their overlord vision where your lings would be rallied unhotkeyed, so you don't hotkey your eggs. This is something that's very foreign to me and something that I'm not really used to doing. I make Zerglings and they get hotkeyed right into my control group. So yeah, I'm wondering why. Well, actually, you did explain why you did that, just so they don't run into banelings just by themselves, and I can see that as being helpful if like I'm microing my Zerglings inside their main base, and I don't want my reinforcements just trickling in like 2 by 2.
Yeah. It's well, the thing is, it's almost not too bad if they're going in 2 by 2, but it's more that when 2 lava injects pop at the same time, and then you have 20 Zerglings run in, and they run into a baneling because you're looking at the Zerglings in the back of the main, and you don't even realize that you've run more Zerglings in, and they've kind of run into a baneling and all died in a clump. Now that's a pretty advanced situation. Yeah, it's we've all done that one many times. The great thing about ZvZ is you can do that once or twice and then still win the game because it's kind of like Widowmine shots. It's going to go both way. Half the time it's going to kill Terran units, half the time it's going to kill an army of Zerg. It's not something you have to do, that technique, right? So we could just keep hotkeying the eggs, and it really comes down to your proficiency on and what you think feels good and sounds good to you. So I'm totally happy for where you are on the ladder to just keep control grouping all the Zerglings and rallying them across. But if we just think about that as its own kind of system, right? So what about not control grouping lings in chaotic situations, right? So that's going to be very necessary if they are doing the same build to you, right? So say you're trying to rally across mass Ling Bane on one side of that, they're rallying down the other side. You actually don't want to pull home to defend. You want to keep being aggressive, right? But you definitely don't want to be control grouping your Zerglings at home. So the reason is attacking with Ling Bane's way better than defending, okay? Way better than defending, first of all. But the problem that can happen is pretty obvious if you think about it, which is if you're doing that, any Zerglings you build to defend are just going to get rallied across the map. They're just going to be running out and dying. So what would we need to do if you can imagine this scenario? So say we're about 4 minutes, 3:45, 4 minutes, something like this. You're rallying down the south side of the map. He's rallying up the top side of the map. How would you respond there to try and keep your attack going, but then also get some sort of defense going?
So if I'm coming down the bottom and he's coming up the top?
Yep.
Just the first thought that comes to my mind is any lings that kind of pop out, kind of rally them outside my base and morph into banelings. Actually, you know what? I would normally keep my first 2 banelings. This does delay my attack, but there have been some games where I have the first 2 banelings because for some reason their speed is a little bit quicker, probably because they pulled off gas. And I will have them, like the ramp between my natural and my main, I'll have one baneling kind of patrolling up at the top of the ramp, one baneling kind of patrolling at the bottom of the ramp. Just to kind of as a safety measure, just in case if I don't see some ling run by because I'm too focused on my micro, and lings just run up the base, and problem solved. So
that's a really good mechanism. That's called a safety baneling, is what I like to call that. And leaving just at least 1 or 2 safety banelings on top of your ramp is like a very good piece of insurance. Now, because we are kind of going all in, I'm totally okay for us to not do that with this strategy, right? By default, but definitely that'll help. So because especially if it's on top of the ramp, they'll often run in a big clump, right? And bam, even if you're not watching it very regularly, with 0 micro will kill 15 Zerglings or so, right? It's pretty massive. Now, the big thing that you want to think about here, though, is, okay, so how would we scramble together a defense? So you said rally out front and morph banelings, which sounds right. But the problem is they're just going to die unless it's a giant map and you've got so much time. So what you really want to do is, so chaotic situations. So what if they attack you same time as you attack them? Okay. So what do we do? First things first, queen's on the ramp. So you want to use shift plus hold position to tell them to queue up, one of them to take station on one side of the ramp, one to take station on the other side of the ramp.
That's right. Okay.
Have you used shift hold position before, or?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the technique. Just take the two queens. I usually have three queens. Two of them are usually lower. One of them is kind of creeping. The other one is defense. But
Well, that makes it even easier because then you can just take.
Lately, I've just been going with two queens because then the more links, more money for links.
Yeah, because you're kind of all in, right? Third queen's more of a defensive tool, so that makes perfect sense. But yeah, even if you had two queens on the natural, it just makes it even easier. You just grab those two queens, click them on the ramp, and then you would set your rally point above the ramp, behind those queens, and that's where you would be morphing the banelings, like rallying the zerglings and morphing them. But you'd also not be control grouping those eggs, right? So you'd kind of flick a switch gears in your head to any zerglings I build now are not getting control grouped. And I'll just go back to my ramp and manually kind of box them and morph banelings because I don't want to accidentally move those across the map with my army that I'm attacking with at the same time.
Okay, question, or two questions. Do I pull the drones from the natural and mineral walk them right up to the main?
Yeah,
And I guess the second question would be, what about the lings that are coming from the natural? They're going to get trapped on the bottom of the ramp, from the two queens. What do we do with those guys?
They're going to get their ass killed, aren't they?
Oh, okay, so it's just sacrificial links. Fair enough.
Basically, because the thing is, right, even getting that done, getting the queens on the ramp, setting the rally point, continuing to build zerglings, you got to do that, and you also got to keep attacking with your own attack, right? And you can't ease off that either. So it's going to be an imperfect solution. If your drones stay on the low ground, that's like a bonus. I'm actually going to put these under bonus points, okay? Bonus points, mineral walk drones, and then super bonus point is like rally natural behind mineral line or something like that, right? If we rally the natural hatchery like maybe behind the mineral line, maybe those zerglings will, like, if you do it, especially say you do it just between the gas and the minerals, just behind that, so then even if zerglings like aggro onto them and chase them, they might automatically funnel into the choke point between the minerals and the gas because your zerglings will turn and fight there as they pop. Now, or you rally the natural hatchery down to the bottom of the map or something, somewhere where you think the lings can escape. This is so friggin'... I would never do this. I'm going to remove that. That's actually so niche, even though it sounds like a good idea. It's like, there's no way that's on our priority list. Because all this is about is buying time. This is just about buying time while hopefully... And we're going to cripple them so badly at home, and we just need to make sure they don't cripple us as badly as we cripple them, right? This is a knife fight, so... If we were setting up more, we'd have proper defense and a proper fight, but this is a knife fight in a phone booth situation. If you're both shoving Ling Bane at each other at the same time, it's like, it's really, we've just got to find the most important actions and prioritize those.
Curious, would you recommend I take the baneling nest up in the main or in the natural in case of these spicy situations? Because if I'm obviously getting attacked, then my baneling nest is going to be, well, at least has a chance to be killed. Or would you suggest building it next to the ramp so that the queens can at least defend it while they're, blocking the ramp?
Yeah, it's like a really good question, actually. So that's interesting. Definitely. So I'm going to let you choose this one. And I think you've already identified the reasons why. The only third option I'd give is you could put it in front of your hatchery on the natural, but one space in front of it, just so it creates a nice little choke point that's like almost like a natural choke point where the queen is kind of already nestled between the baneling nest and the hatchery. As long as that baneling nest, like, you can look at this game, just imagine your baneling nest is like 3 or 4 spaces to the left, and then the queen is just sitting right in between the two, and that way only a few lings can attack her from each side. So even if you get surprised by some zerglings, in a situation where it's not, oh, he's running across the top, I'm running across the bottom, but like somehow at some point in the chaos, some lings sneak across, your queen's already like not able to get properly surrounded, and she's kind of like a mini spine crawler. She's like a little turret that'll kill a few zerglings and buy a bunch of time, just by naturally being in a pocket. So it's up to you. You could do the semi one at the ramp, like you said, where your queens can kind of defend it a little bit, creates like a little semi ramp. You could do it at the front of the wall off because then you can use it with extra Evo Roach Warren later for proper wall offs, right? So that's what you'll see me do at the moment. I'm learning really standard play at the moment, very EU macro virgin as I call it, which I've kind of not wanted to do for a long time, but I'm finally learning how to do it. And for that, the wall off is really important at the front because I'm not going aggressive with Ling Bane, right? So which one do you think you'll choose now? And obviously you can always adjust it later.
You know, I guess it really depends. If I'm doing 3 queens, then I would be more comfortable taking this Baneley nest and putting it right next to the hatchery and nestling the queen right in the pocket. Just that way I have the extra 2 queens if I need to wall off the ramp, that'll be totally fine. If I'm not going to do that and I'm just doing this 2 queen thing, I feel like putting the Baneley nest next to the ramp is probably going to be my best bet, because then I can, with the 2 queens on the ramp, I can defend pretty much everything and still keep my tech.
Awesome. So sorry, did you say Baneley nest on the bottom of the ramp or in the main? Which one were you going?
Oh, you know what? Let's put it in the main. I see it a lot.
Yeah.
I see it a lot in the wall of the natural, but I'm expecting that's probably going to be useful when going to the next edge of ZvZ, which I'm probably not going to be focusing on for the next couple of matches.
And the thing is, honestly, dude, I played macro roach and stuff as well without the wall off for the longest time. It's like, it's really good because it blocks scouting. How important is scouting? Dude, like I've been doing bronze to GM PROTOSS. I've been like doing really simple 2-base all-ins. People scouted every game. Nobody reacts. And I'm getting to Masters 2 level. I've played a few GMs. They're still really barely reacting. People don't really look at their scouting that much in StarCraft. You think they do it more. They don't. So I think it's so niche. It doesn't matter for now. So let's just do Baneley Nest on high ground. Okay? Baneley Nest in main base. And the thing is, who knows? Maybe because people don't see the Baneley nest, some people will be like, oh, this guy's not building a Bane nest. And maybe they play a big video. Who knows?
Cool. Who knows? Speaking about the Baneley nest in the main, just a slight little detour. As soon as around 2 minutes when the natural and the spawning pool finish, I make 2 queens, 1 drone, and 2 lings. And I usually send the lings right across the map, jump into their main. I can always get in. And, well, let's say most of the time I can get in. And I just do a little bit of scouting. You know, just being a little annoyance. Sometimes it throws people off, sometimes it doesn't. What do you think about that? Is that even worth doing? Or should I just go double drones and then do the next round of Zerglings because it takes their lings a while to kind of get across the map? Or just go the standard 4 lings?
You should always scout. So if you're gonna go 2 lings and get in there, I mean, you might spot someone who's doing some crazy ass build. It's gonna give you early info. I love it. I think it's always good to build habits around just like grabbing information earlier rather than later. So I really like this. You know, it's 2 lings. Who cares? It's kind of a bummer because then you don't have your lings hidden on the map for like morphing banelings. But you can send those over a bit later. That's okay. You can still sneak some lings out. And a lot of people won't react to just 4 or 6 Zerglings leaving your base anyway. So it should be cool.
Awesome. A little later, I can see I deal with the wall off rather poorly. I figured there's a wall off, so I might as well just move him to the side, wait till he moves out because I've got better overlord movement, and then I'll just send him in for a backstab. That was my plan until I recognized his wall wasn't actually a wall.
No worries. Yeah, I mean this is like a perfect example of like, you know, we're like, oh, I guess I'll play a roach game. You're like. It's really bad what we do in this game. You should just go completely all in, or we react much quicker after scouting with those 2 lings and going, oh, this guy's going Evo Roach Warren, I'll go down a different branch. But for now, we'll just keep it really simple and just always do the Ling Bane all in. And it's just going to take that decision making out of it for you, because trust me, the wall off is not that strong. It's pretty good if they build a spine early, fully wall off, are good at re-walling, build extra queens, play really safe. Nobody does that. And your opponent here, your opponent's actually doing the worst build order of all time. They're making Ling Speed and a Baneley Nest, but they're also walling off. So your opponent's actually like just doing everything at once in a completely nonsense order that makes no sense. And this is, I see GMs do this recently as well. The collective knowledge of Zerg versus Zerg in 2022 outside of pro level, I feel like has just jumped off a cliff recently. People are just doing things that make no sense. If you think about it, if you're playing Ling Bane, it's something that you want to be using aggressively, right? You want to be getting over there. But if you're going straight to roaches, what's the point of the Ling Bane? Because there's no reason for your opponent to invest in Ling Bane here. Because how's he going to get gas for the upgrades, the roaches? Also, he's not droning up his expansion because he's spending all this money on Ling Speed and a Baneling Nest and safety Zerglings. So it's it's a disaster, your opponent's build order here. And this is the sort of stuff that we should just get a free win verse, even though you'd think Banelings are good versus what you're doing, and they may hold you off. Just by committing really doggedly, your opponent's going to be so broke because they've diversified their money into like 7 different things that they shouldn't be able to afford a lot of any one thing.
So I'm very familiar with the build that he's trying to execute, and I do agree the link speed is a waste of gas. That should have been an early layer. I'm very familiar with this build because I played this pretty much exclusively till D3. So I'm very familiar with this 2-base timing. It's actually a little bit early that he's dropping this kind of stuff. I would normally drop it around 36, supply the roaches, and maybe he's short on drones because he spent the extra buildings. But one, I never thought about doing a Bane bust because I usually only do that against PROTOSS that put pylons in their wall. Call it wall inspector. But I just never thought about that.
You literally just tear the wall down. If you can kill the roach warren, that is the priority because then they can't build roaches.
Okay.
But like you don't even need to blow the wall up with Banes. Like you just tear it down because they don't have anything that's attacking you from behind the wall. They'll have like 1 or 2 queens, which take forever to kill Zerglings, and they don't have anything else. And you just go, and don't get me wrong, like I said, this guy can make Banelings, which is obviously not what we want to be running into. But so basically what you do is you attack move your Zerglings. Now you did walk out with like a whole lot of Zerglings, 8 Zerglings right underneath him. So you really did foreshadow your attack. But let's go back earlier. The point is,
when did I do that and where?
Just then, when you were moving out across the map. Yeah. But sorry, I want to double check your build because I think your build might be a bit off as well. So let's just double check some things. Okay, so your 16 hatch went down on time. Your workers do seem to be doubled up nicely. I don't know. Do you actually manually double them up to make sure they're on the close
every single game?
Beautiful. All right, making sure that wasn't chance. Gas goes down on time. Pool goes down. Pool could be up 1 square so that your queen could create a nice choke point with it. As it is, it's too wide for a queen to plug that. Doesn't matter too much unless you get in an emergency where there's a queen defending your main base, but just something to keep in mind. And you go 20 Overlord, right? 19 Overlord. Okay, so you can go 20 Overlord if you're going 16 hatch. That's going to be a little more efficient for you. So let's note that down. Do you normally do 20 Overlord or is it always 19 you've been doing?
I usually go 19 just because I want the Overlord to that extra third. I send 3 Overlords across the map every single game, and I want the 19 because I want that vision earlier.
Okay, so we don't want 3 Overlords across the map. That's actually something we need to break that habit. That brings a really good point. OV pattern. So what you want to do, first 2, so first plus second OV equals autocorrect. Equals vision outside enemy base. Okay, so what you should have done is this Overlord here, just pull that up to the north a little bit, and then you can see him exiting the base from either side. Now, technically, he could come out and mine open these minerals. You can see where I'm signaling, right, on the minimap?
Yes, I can.
Beautiful. So those minerals, he technically could open them up, but don't worry about it. No one does that. If someone does it, you can worry about it, but every other map, basically, you can just have your Overlords both watching if they move out to take a third and seeing if they leave the base as well. So your bottom Overlord's great. Your top Overlord just needs to be up to the right a little bit, okay? And
basically, where the third Overlord is going.
Yeah, exactly there. So your third Overlord should be sitting outside your base. And the reason is that's just going to give you early warning of sneaky lings and banelings coming in. And if the fight does get pushed to your side of the map, it just gives you vision of what's going on. So it's just really, really important to do that because otherwise you'd be surprised how many times sneaky banelings walk into your base and that sort of stuff.
Okay, so curious. Would you say this is more map specific? Because I mean, Berlingrad is actually that's pretty easy, right? We've only got 2 entrances. But let's say a map like 2000 Atmospheres, right? Where you've got those 3 kind of
you can cover them all pretty well. It's definitely possible that if they poke their queen out, they can push you off the vision. Open my stream. So I can just show you on my stream. It'd be easiest. So no worries.
Gotta watch these advertisements.
Quick, someone gift Oka sub so he doesn't have an ad. Yes. Cool. It should only be 30. It should be 15 or 30 seconds ads, right? When you first load up.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Oh shit! Did I lower that? Yes, I did. Okay. All right.
I honestly forgot I was on. I honestly forgot I was on stream too.
No worries, mate. All right. So you did point out 2000 Atmos. Can you see the stream?
5 more seconds.
All right. That's fine. So we've got, you'll see what I'm drawing a few seconds later anyway. So we've got main natural third, and technically there are 3 exits. However, basically an overlord here will be able to see that exit and that exit. And an overlord here will be able to see this right exit and also this exit. So the way it works is say they move a queen forward and they hit this overlord, it can pull back out to the left. It can pull back that way, and it can still cover that left entrance. And your overlord on the right can shuffle up a little bit, and it can still cover the middle entrance and the right entrance. So you kind of have both overlords covering the middle entrance, and they both see the side entrances. And essentially, yeah, you actually can, because overlords have sick sight vision. It's like the longest range. Can't you just patrol? An overlord's really slow. So chat was asking, can you just patrol? It's like, overlord's really slow. You don't want to bother patrolling. You want to just keep vision there, and you want to have a lot of vision, not just barely see the edge. Because otherwise, if like lings flood through, you might not even notice if you're not looking at your minimap for a second, right? So we want to have a good amount of vision. And obviously, we want to prioritize that middle path most of all, because that's usually where the attack comes. That's the fastest route, right? So we want to have lots of vision over the middle. And if we only barely have the edge of the side, that's fine. Because first of all, they'd have to do their zerglings like, just to try to skim the edge, and it would take them so much longer to get to our base. So already that's a deterrent. It's a very low percentage someone's ever even going to try that maneuver, because they don't know for sure exactly where all your overlords are. They have an idea of what their overlords can see. They don't know for sure.
Okay, I guess the reason I was putting 3 is because my opponents don't always take the line. Like, sometimes they'll take the triangle base. And so I figured, okay, well, an overlord at one possible third, the overlord at the other possible third, and then the third one is just going to be right in the middle.
Yeah. So the thing is, you don't always need to see the third base. You just need to see the exits. So every now and then I'll be like, oh, I didn't actually pay attention with my lings to see if he took a third or not. Like I didn't pay, even though I could have seen if a drone walked there, I didn't pay attention, and I might just cue the overlord to go get in vision of that base and then go back to your watching the paths out of the base spot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's basically just cover the 2 most important attack paths.
2 or 3 most important attack paths. Yeah, just cover all the attack paths. Don't care about actually seeing the base, because number 1, your lings can check that, and number 2, you can always be like, so like I said, you've got these 2 overlords, right? So you got bam bam, and then you're like, oh, I actually don't know if this base. So you just move that overlord down and then back up. You queue it to go here and then back to its original spot. So it's just checking, oh yeah, there's a third hatch, or oh no, there's no third hatch. And you could do it the same with the other one, where you just like, oh, just move to the left a little bit and then shift click it back to where it was. So it just peeks over and goes, oh yeah, there is a third hatch over there. And if it is up on the left side, then we can just adjust those 2 overlords to like, maybe, this map's kind of tricky, but it would be probably about there, those 2 overlords. There may be on a certain map a really unique situation where like your opponent just barely friggin' slides around the edge and that you're not just slightly out of position or something like that, and you don't see it. But these are pretty niche. And what you want to do is you always want to get your 3rd overlord outside your base, 4th overlord in the middle of the map, and assuming you take the line, your 5th overlord can go out front that 3rd base just to give you a bit more vision. And that's your 5 overlords in ZvZ, and they should always be set up like that every single Zerg versus TERRAN. Zerg versus Zerg, sorry. And it's pretty much always the same pattern. 2 to watch their exits, 1 to watch the entrance to your base, 1 in the middle just to give extra vision if you end up with Ling Bane fights back and forth. That way you're not going to run into Banelings. There's often sight blockers in the middle of the map as well, so that's part of why that's so useful. And then 1 out front, your 3rd, likewise, just to give you a little bit of extra context on the map.
Okay. Are more overlords encouraged? Because, I mean, sometimes I'll spare like 8 or 9.
No, because then you're getting to the point where mutas could be out on the map. So at a certain point, it's like only once you know it's like a roach versus roach game do you want to add more overlords. And then you want to also put them all on patrol paths so that they don't get corrosive biled down too easily as well.
Okay. So
More
normally
overlords?
when I see mutas,
Yeah, sorry, say again.
You know what? Again?
No, I'll just follow this blindly because normally when I've seen mutas, I'm usually placing that roach style because that's just what I've been playing. And if they have mutas, my roaches are usually in their base. I just go, well, screw the mutas, just go right into their mineral lines, destroy everything, and they just leave by that point because,
Yeah,
well, they've got no more economy.
that's a good
That's
way
not my
to do
game,
it.
I'm sure it's different.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to do it. Don't be wasting your time pulling back for Mutalisk. That's a good a good strategy. So the thing is, this Overlord pattern, I haven't watched your other matchups, but so say you're versus a Terran or a Protoss. So let's say Terran. Let's just go over this real quickly. Do you put an Overlord on the pillar, or do you try to put it up there to sacrifice through the main? Do you send 2 Overlords in ZVT? What do you do with your Overlords?
ZVT, I abuse the fact that the overlords have like an 11 sight range. So I go straight for the natural. As soon as I see that they've got an expansion, I kind of pull it around towards like the triangle third, kind of just sneaking around the edge of their base. And then I wait till around 3:30, 3:45, and send it in for a sacrifice.
Cool. You know what's really kind of handy, and it depends if you want to do this or not, but I started doing it after Scarlett coached me the other day. I actually just send it up to here, just because there's often a pillar outside the base, and I stand just in front of that pillar so I can still see all the Hellions and stuff rallying out. And I can also rally it into the left, but it's a little different on each map, so it's up to you. I think your way of doing it at the moment is totally fine. You give up a little bit of vision over the natural, but that's actually fine because you can always send Lings in and try to run up the ramp from the side around.
That's my rationale. I can usually see it right when the Reaper is coming, or if I see a Marine already out, I can just skip the early Lings and then build them like 2 or 3 rounds later.
And so what do you do with your other Overlords after your first one then?
The next 5 or 6 start going right outside the thirds. So like in this map, it would go right. I'm not sure if you can see with the pings. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 1 to cover the dead space and 1 to cover this dead space.
Do them all one more time.
So it'll be third, technically fourth, right in the middle, so I can see any Hellion transfers in the dead space of the main and dead space of the third.
Very good. Very good. Beautiful. And
that ring of vision has been drilled into me.
Good. You do the same thing versus Protoss? Is there any change from that?
Nope, with Protoss, same thing. If I see a Void Ray, they all get kind of pulled back just a little bit, at least at the edge of creep so the queens can defend.
Beautiful. I love it. Just wanted to check that because this is such a fundamental thing, dude. I still coach Masters players sometimes. So I'm like, oh, this guy's really good at this thing and this thing. And I like, their Overlords are just total shit. I play GMs on the ladder where they're just like, man, ZvZ's dumb. And I'm like, you have no vision with your Overlords. Like, what the hell? Like, how can you be playing this match? You have free scouts. Have you not listened to Terran and Protoss players complain about how we get free scouts that see everything? Come on, abuse it, man. So that's awesome. So 1 Overlord pokes front. Then we get 3 to 4, basically 3 to 4. Occasionally you need a 4th Overlord, right? Depending on where your third is. Out front to see Hellions / Adepts. So this is ZVT / ZVP, I guess I should call it. And then 2 Overlords watching the edges of the map, right? For air. And if Void Ray or Viking, we just pull all of them back a little, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
I get fairly judicious, like I get fairly free with my Overlord placement. Like I'll place a few more. I try to eventually cover some of the deads. This is something I'm trying to work on sprinkling in. I'm trying to work in some of the, oh, it's not showing up on stream. I try to get some dead space kind of like further up in the map, like the dead space way up on the really sides of the bases, just so I can see drops and other harassment coming from earlier.
Yeah.
But something that really struggles, like I don't struggle against Hellion harassment. Very rarely will I take damage on that one. It's usually when there's a 1-2 punch that there's a Liberator that comes in and the Liberator gets like 17 drone kills. I take no damage to the Hellions and the Liberator's having a field day. And I go, oh, God damn.
The best is like when you've got that big pleased smile on your face because you like surrounded the Hellions so well and you're like, yeah, I shut down the Hellions for once. Yeah, man. And you like look at your main base is just empty and you're like, when did that happen?
It feels worse because if I just glanced at the minimap, I could have had like 17 seconds of warning.
Yep. You're like, wow, I'm a Zerg player. Oh, good times, mate. Legoland wants.
What's Hellions? I'm trying to just repeat quite verbally that there's something else. Come on, there's something else. Like a look for the
Yeah.
other, trying to train my brain to look for something else.
Yeah. It's like we shouldn't have to like be frantically like gritting our teeth and staring at our lings and queens to stop the Hellions, right? It should be more of a, okay, I'm in position, check the minimap, keep injecting, go back, make sure we're still okay against the Hellions. Yep, still positioned okay. Go back, and try to put yourself in positions where you can A, move surround the Hellions if they dive, right? So you don't have to be like frantically stutter stepping or trying to move past and surround, and then the Hellions change direction and juke you. What's your Twitch chat name again? Isn't it just Oak7 or something?
I don't think I'm on Twitch chat.
Oh, you're not in Twitch. You're not in Twitch chat? What the hell? People in chat were trying to gift you a sub so you get an ad-free experience. Do you have Amazon Prime?
Nope.
No, don't have Amazon Prime. Okay, that's good. If you have Amazon Prime, then I'm like, you got to give me your Prime Gaming sub for free. That's cool. Anyways, guys, he's not in Twitch chat. You can't gift him a sub. GG. Ads are gonna pop up randomly every now and then. It'll happen.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. So anyways, let's go back and focus on your plan. So the whole point of the rule of one gas, or sorry, not the rule of one gas, the stages of aggression, ZvZ, stage 1, ZvZ aggression is the key, is what you've been doing, is it's really about giving us a solid opening that we can plug into something else. And then we can turn it into just a light Ling Bane pressure that just transitions into the Roach stage of the game. And when we're learning the Roach stage, we're actually always going to do a Ling Bane attack. There's just one wave, droning up, getting a Roach Horn, a second gas, most of our natural mineral land saturated. We could stop a little under. And then we're going to go 8 Roaches, 10 Roaches, something like that. Rally Lings, Morph Banes behind it. We do a big Roach Bane all in. So it's a two-tiered all in is what stage 2 is. And stage 3 is like, okay, let's do tier 1, then let's do the tier 2 attack, and then let's macro behind it into like a Roach game and figure out what we want to do from there. Now, this is kind of an older style where you won't see this at pro play anymore, where they're much more committed to the Ling Bane and then the Roach Bane all in. You'll still see that actually, but it's done a little different, usually with an Evo upgrade and stuff. But especially on small maps and early Legacy, I developed this because I was like, man, aggression is so good. Now, at the peak top play, you won't see this as much anymore. The reason is because people got so much better at defending, but also maps got bigger. So it's not as powerful to attack with roaches. It's got to be more of a surprise maneuver and stuff. But this still follows the same format of
Wait,
giving
these
them...
are slow roaches.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not even 2 gases, not even 2 mineral lands, no Evo chamber. It's a Roach Bane. You've got a third hatchery, but you've never really droned off that third hatchery. It's basically a macro hatch. I'm totally using this as a expansion, but it's a barracks. It's a gateway. Is almost what you want to think of that third hatchery as.
And we don't take a layer with this as well either.
No, not at all.
Okay, so this is all in hatchery tech.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay.
Learning how to smack bitches. Now, and then this is a good way to learn just the power of the aggressive plays. And by doing them, we also learn how people shut them down. We also learn how to doggedly commit to them. We learn about the details that make them work, all this sort of stuff. Now, to start out, we just want to go completely all in with Ling Bane. So normally, I can't remember the exact build order that I tell you in the guide, but I would imagine 25 drones is probably what I say to stop at. About 33 supply is probably where you want to be going for the...
Yeah, that's exactly what you said.
33, yeah? Okay, cool. So I think in this game, it felt like your drones were kind of low. If anyone wants this, by the way, guys, you can in chat. ZvZ aggression is the key. There we go. Okay. So definitely 20 Overlord would be nice. Now you're building 2 Zerglings. You're going to rally those across. That's fine. You're just droning behind it. Remember, we would have already started Link Speed by now because you would have put that 1 extra guy on gas. So it would have started about 210, maybe 215 at the latest. Okay. In this game, you can see you're a little slow to start it. Now, you don't need to pull anyone off gas, right? Because we want lots of gas for those Banelings. Okay. So you would start Link Speed immediately on 100. And then what supply do we go third hatch normally?
It's not, I don't really have a supply. It's just more get it down at around 220.
Okay. So what you want to do, this Zergling that you built on your natural, the next drone, you see this egg on your natural that's a drone that's just started, that is the drone. You rally to your third and you start it on 30 or 32 supply. Okay.
Oh, this is just well, my ZVP opener. It'd be two
Absolutely.
queens and two sets of lings, and then the next round of drones. That's the drone you're talking about. Gets sent over the right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
third is going to go down around 236, 237 then.
Something exactly. So rally second lava from natural to build third at 30 or 32 supply. Right? Beautiful.
And also with that 20 Overlord, or yeah, 20 Overlord. Every matchup or just this one?
With a 16 hatch every matchup.
Okay.
Unless you're gonna, it's 20 or later. You could do it on 21 or even later potentially. Yeah. But 20 is a good number. I've been doing 20 for a long time. So it just allows you to get that one extra drone out earlier. It's not a big deal, but it's like, hey, a few extra minerals, you know. Okay, so you see here, you've built the hatchery now. You've got Ling Speed on the way as well. Your Ling Speed only started after the hatchery. So Ling Speed, remember, is the priority. And we're droning, but we're droning a bit slower because we went for that third hatchery earlier than we need to. So if we just had a few more drones earlier, you could have been at like 25 drones plus 2 queens is what, 29 supply. Add 4 zerglings, that's 31 supply. So yeah, you can probably, it's like 26, 27 drones usually this attack. It's not the absolute fastest, most all-in attack. And you could argue it'll be a bit stronger if it is. But the reason we're not learning it that way is we feel if we execute by committing hard enough and executing well enough, hitting these injects the moment the queens pop out, you can see we're a little late on that this game, right? They're gathering energy. You can kill people anyway, but then it also will give you a more solid base if you're not going all in. You're like, oh, I'm just doing this as a pressure. I've got 26, maybe 27 drones, making 20 zerglings, making some banes going in, but I'm droning behind that. And I'm hitting my injects behind that. And it's more about just throwing my opponent off balance. If they've been too greedy, it'll punish them. If they've been really safe, I don't need to commit. I can just like posture around and scare them a little bit without really committing. And I'm going up and preparing for my my roaches already. Now for us, we're going to just keep going all in. So that's the last I'm going to talk about roaches because all in. Notice you're only building overlords a little late here as well, right? So the thing is, once this is ironed out, so we should not be massing zerglings until we've already got the overlords building, right? Because we don't need zerglings until the overlords are already. Like, we want everything to come out and hit at once, right? You do want a few zerglings across the map to make banelings, but you've already got like 2 forward. If you could hide a few more, that would be great. But let's go here. So build, rally second lava. So after your third hatchery, make sure you get an overlord ASAP, right? After you get up to that. So right, so after that, drone to 33, 2 times overlords. And then endless lings. Because 2 overlords from 36 supply, what's that going to take us to? It's like 50, right?
50, right? Yeah, like 54, 52, something like that.
52. Yeah. So that's, I mean, basically, obviously you could build another one, but because you're going to be trading so aggressively, you probably never need it, right? You can probably just, off those 2 overlords, kind of endlessly do this. And that'll be really nice. So endless lings, right? Okay, so what are some little bonuses we can add? And I'm writing this in the build notes for you there. So if we think about it, we've got drone to 33, we've got 2 overlords, we've got endless lings. Well, obviously, try to sneak first 4 to 6 across the map to morph banes if you can, right? That's nice. What's something else we can do? Bonus points. Queen, after injecting, a move out front natural, and then quickly, and then go back without missing injects more than a few seconds. So this is part of why you also need an overlord outside your base. This third overlord of yours needs to go to yours because a lot of bases, maps have a pillar above your natural. And right now you don't have an overlord there, which means an overlord could just be watching everything you're doing above your natural. Now on this map, I know that's not the case, but most maps it is, right? So that overlord will spot the high ground, allowing your queen to kill that overlord if it's too close. And if it is just sitting out front like this, just by after an inject, we can go back a few seconds so we can watch this, right? So what you could do is you'll like make a habit of it and you inject with the queen and then you A move her out front the natural and shift her back to your natural. So she's like inject, starts hitting this overlord a few times, that overlord gets pushed back, and then your queen just goes back, doesn't really miss any inject time, and then you go, cool, I know where the overlords are, he's still got vision on the top, but he doesn't have vision on the bottom unless he quickly re-changed the angle of that overlord. So you can be like, okay, I'll even rally my lings out the bottom. They'll go there and then there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like one, get them off your lawn, and then also like creates a path where you can start sneaking lings out that deprives them of information.
Exactly. And the power of doing this, people are like, well, why are you teaching Oak or Lynn's pig? What the fuck? This is just stupid. What if people are better with moving the overlord? What are we learning? We're also learning if someone's queen comes out and pokes our overlord back, now we know what to look out for, don't we? You know, being aware of try to be a bit cheeky to other people, it's going to make us also more aware of, oh, if our overlord, which I already pointed out, your overlord's a bit too close, it's too prone to getting pushed back, it should be a bit further north, which makes this harder. But if it did, you would want to click it up to the left, but then you'd want to queue it back up to the right, right? So it's like bam, bam. And that way it's going to close that gap as quickly as possible. So hopefully if you do see Zerglings, you know, flooding out the top side or something like that, right?
Okay, yeah. And
Cool.
just, I wrote down 2 questions just
Yeah,
just
go,
real
go,
quick.
go.
For the Baneling nest, do I throw that down as soon as I have the 50 gas? Or do I throw it down at around 250? Because 50 gas usually comes a little bit before that.
Yeah, you don't need to throw it down right on 50 gas because it's more important to get your drones out. Because yeah, as long as it's down about 2 minutes 50, so it'll be that's a good point. Let's put that in the build order. Let's go. Baneling Nest, then the 2 overlords is probably going to be a good way to do it. Drone to 33 supply, Bane Nest, and then 2 overlords should be okay. Now that might be a few seconds later. So maybe right after the hatchery. If we go, yeah, I think if we go Bane Nest right after the hatchery, then add a few drones, then the 2 overlords, that should make sure it's okay. We might need to do a little bit of fine tuning on this, but I think that would line up pretty well. So yeah. Because the thing is, this replay is not very accurate because you're just down a few workers early that would be mining from your natural, giving you a little bit more minerals, right? Because we took the hatchery so fast and that sort of stuff. So this it would be a little different to this replay, remember, right? And then, yeah, because these Zerglings come out so long before your attack, remember your Ling speed's very late. Remember, it should be kicking in preferably before 3 minutes 30, like just on it. And you show these Zerglings early, which gives your opponent like a little bit of like,
oh,
ooh.
yeah, I see it now.
So he's like, oh, you know, now he's building a 3rd queen. He even throws a spine crawler down at some point here. And we're kind of just foreshadowing our attack. And we're like trickling Lings out. Whereas it would be much better if you just literally, if you haven't snuck the Lings out yet, if you push the Overlord back, you could sneak some out, that's great. But otherwise, if you just morph these 2 Banes, and then like 30 more Zerglings flood out into his Overlord vision at the same time as you start morphing these Banelings, you get across the map as the Banelings are kind of finished morphing and waddling in, and you hit the natural like a brick right here. 345, 350, 4 minutes should be the absolute latest you get to that natural. And then this Spine Crawler is not taking part in the fight. And you've got, if you A-move the wall, all the Lings will go after the Queen, right? But then you box a few of them, click them on the Roach Horn, box a few of them, click them on the bottom Evo chamber, because that's also got quite a bit of surface area. And the rest you just kind of let A move at the Queen, and they will kill her pretty quickly. So your opponent's going to have to quickly Evo chamber wall behind that Queen. If they don't pull the Queen from their main very quickly, which they won't because they're panicking, most players won't do that. There's only 1 Queen hitting you from behind the wall. Luckily, they've got 6 Roaches starting. But even then, you still might just be surprised how bad Roaches are versus Mass Zerglings, because you're doing nothing but inject, rally Lings. Your rally point should be set to the enemy natural. You see how your rally point's still at your natural right now? So even with control grouping eggs, you should still be rallied over there, and it should just be like, go, 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 go. And if your opponent defends perfectly, great wall off, spine crawler, extra Evo chamber, that's fine. They defended well. The important thing is for you to check, did you do your build sharp, crisp, and commit really hard to the attack, because that's what matters, right? I didn't even notice that.
I know. We both are really. He's just as surprised as I am. We make a comment about that just a few seconds later.
Did chat notice that? I didn't notice it. I'm scrolling up through chat to see if anyone called this, because I'm pretty sure we looked at this natural. I did not notice this at all. I don't think chat noticed it either. Oh, that's so funny, dude. That is hilarious. Oh, this is so funny. Chat missed it as well. Oh no, Tanatic noticed it. Okay, that's so funny. This is why you always make sure you kind of hover up against the edge whenever you're building a a wall. That's so freaking. This is what I'm talking about, man. So even at pro level, sometimes someone will go for an Evo wall off, and like a Dark or a Rogue will just do this Ling Bane all in against it. So every now and then people are like, this doesn't work versus a gasless wall off. Wall off's too solid. Blah blah blah. Number one, your opponent ran his only Zerglings out of his base and threw them away, so he can't even use his Baneling Nest or his Ling Speed. Like, actually mind-bogglingly bad. Number two, the wall off is effed. Number three, you gave him literal minutes extra to build a spine crawler and roaches after showing what you were doing and then not committing. And then you started transitioning rather than doubling down on the all-in. So this is obviously a really bad kind of, we've given him every possible opportunity. And then the fact that there's a wall off means if we ran in the main here, who knows, maybe you still could win this. The other thing to keep in mind, roaches suck versus Zerglings in small numbers. If you could get a proper surround on them, as long as they're not in a choke point, roaches seem scary, but if they don't have roach speed, carapace range, all these different upgrades, and until it gets to big armies, Ling surrounds will actually do really efficiently versus roaches. So just keep that in mind.
I was really curious about that. I did test that in the unit tester. So yeah. See, this is him getting really shocked.
Who? You're the one who placed the wall, mate. Who, that wall? Dude, he's going to blame the drone that built the Roach Warren, isn't he? So apparently chat did notice it. Thank you, Zoga, for the gifted sub. Appreciate that, mate. But yeah. So we did an all-in here, but we didn't really commit to it. If some Banelings got in and stuff, would have been different. But you see, now we're just kind of like trickling into roaches, and this is the scenario where roaches get really efficient, right? If you're trickling into them. We want to be hitting before they have any roaches, right? And taking that roach warren down, and even if they get 4 or 5 roaches out, we're tearing through the wall and getting Banelings into the drone line and overwhelming those roaches in small numbers and all this sort of stuff. Awesome.
Okay, so we're at the top of the hour. I just want to close off with one final question, which is, how will I know I'm ready for the next step? Because I'm just going to do this doggedly for like the next several games and really drill this into my bones.
I want you to be bored, not of executing the build, but of beating your opponents too easily and them calling you names. Like, that's kind of the marker is, how many...
So pretty much get as comfortable with this as I am with, let's say, like the hatch gas pool opening.
Yeah. I want that you have like a montage, like a little collage on your wall of like all the names people have called you. Like I have like one of my Florencio shirts. It's just all like the words people have called, and so they're like, fucking PROTOSS piece of shit. They're like, you no skill loser, And he used to have that like on his stream overlay and stuff. You kind of want to develop one of those for yourself. You're like, idiot, you just A moving Banelings. It's just random. It's just luck, man. They'll say while making Ling Speed, Baneling Nest, and then going Roach Tech immediately. I'm sorry to Regulator, by the way. It's just I play Grandmaster, like high Grandmaster players who do this stuff a lot recently, where they're like, I'm gonna make a Baneling Nest and Ling Speed, and then never use it and never plan to use it. And to me, it just reeks of a lack of fundamental understanding of like Ling Speed and Baneling Nest allows you to either be very aggressive or to very flexibly defend a third base, right? It allows you to get more bases, more economy. To go Ling Speed, Baneling Nest, and sit on 2 base makes no sense, right? Unless it's specifically, I'm going to wall off with this, it's a mind game, and it's actually a fake Roach Warren Evo, and then I'm going to do a big surprise Ling Bane all in. That at least has a logic behind it, but I'm pretty sure this player never planned on doing that, and a lot of the players on the ladder don't. So yeah, basically people are just playing really incompetent ZvZ. You are the Punisher. You are the man that comes out of the dark shadows and says, you're not playing properly, and you take their MMR. So that's your job for now.
You got it.
Awesome. Sorry we only got through like not that many replays, but I think we've got a lot of good kind of rules about doubling down on it. The build order is going to be a little more refined here in terms of like getting that sharp attack going. We've mapped out like, hey, if it does end up they're attacking you with Ling Bane, you're attacking them, you don't back away from the attack. You actually double down on the attack, and you try to like get that little set piece of like, get your queens on your ramp, rally to the high ground, and at some point jump home from your attack to morph Banelings on top of the ramp, right? Behind those queens. And as long as you get those Banelings up, they're so busy defending, they're going to be running into the Banelings. You'll kill, 40 Zerglings with 2 Banes. Hopefully you don't run in all your Zerglings into 2 Banelings on their side of the map and that sort of stuff as well. But, dude, do you win this game? No.
No. I lose this game. I marked it down in the replay, so I know the results.
That would have been legendary. I would have been like, you have no business winning this game, dude. If you won that game, Jesus Christ. That would have been sick. Excuse me, sorry. Awesome, man. Okay, so first sesh is obviously always a bit slow. I think that we can very quickly review ZvZ in the next one and probably move on to another matchup. We've got obviously so many other questions to kind of answer and stuff and things to go over. So yeah, write down any questions or things that confuse you as you go through ladder and everything. And yeah, it should be really good. You know, you've got some questions about like how to drone up bases and aggression can arrive at expected times. I would say just really make sure you are trying to hopefully close out those options and not be so worried simply by aiming for your own timing attacks a little bit more. So, you know, don't get stuck in I'm making 90 drones and sitting back, you know? I would actually really advise you just kind of glimpsing through your questions that if you can say, hey, I'm never allowed to go past 70 drones, it's probably a pretty good rule. Because even in Masters 2, Masters 3, like if you're playing really tight play, like you can absolutely, I mean, you can go GM and beyond with 50 drones every game, right? But 3 bases, maybe taking gas on your 4th, it allows you to build a pretty sick army. And you'll see like Zest, super timing attack oriented player, do this all the time with Protoss. We see Dark do it a lot with Zerg as well. It forces you to be more embracing the strength of when your army is strong and going and using that rather than letting it kind of lose efficiency, right? So what I mean by that is like Protoss is really weak at a lot of attack timings. If you make an army, you hit with it, and you're already transitioning into the next thing, whether that be a Muta swap, Broodlord swap, whatever it is. But if we're sitting back a bit too much, then things are going to be a little bit rough. So I think choose a composition for each matchup that you really like. Get some timing attacks that are defined in there. And that should be a good way for us to kind of start making sure that you're the one taking the fight to your opponent and being proactive. People say Zerg's reactive. Sure, let's do that for the first 6 minutes. But from then on, let's really be the one who's actually already aiming for our attacks. So when someone does hit us with a big timing, oh, awesome, I was about to move out anyway. Free win. Literal free win. I want you to be getting more free win situations just from the way you've described all these questions and these different scenarios of like infestors versus battle cruisers with Neural and how to get to 85 drones and what the composition should be versus Charge Load or Mortal Archon. I think most of these should be answered by if we just have a solid comp and some clear timing attacks in mind, we kind of will solve these problems through our own efficient play. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And that is a weakness of my play. I do not have any timing attacks that I'm going for. I just try to macro up, and then I just send wave after wave of just Zerg stuff.
Yeah. It's really empowering when you have a lot more onus on that one attack working, rather than you did 17 waves of like Banelings and Ravages, and some kind of worked and some didn't. But their army is like so far out of control by that point that it's like there's so many more calculations going on. Whereas if you're hitting your first Roach Hydra timing with 1-1 and you hit 30 seconds before Storm finishes or just after Storm finishes, you have 2 drastically different results. It's so easy to learn from that and go, oh, that 30 seconds really matters. Let's make sure I don't, drone my 4th. Make sure I do the 66 drone or even hit even slightly before 1-1 finishes, because it's more important for me to hit before Storm kicks in than it is before to get there with my 1-1. My 1-1 can finish during the fight, or, this sort of stuff, right? It's getting more of an intuitive understanding of like not just us sitting back and trying to tick all the boxes, but realizing it's more important for us to get in there before the Protoss ticks their boxes.
Cool. I'll definitely focus on trying to come up with some timings, and I'll see what I come up with next time.
Yeah, don't be afraid to baboon it a little bit. Just define them, stick with them a little bit. I'm really looking forward to looking through some replays and working on it. Awesome, mate. Well, good luck on the ladder today. Great first sesh. I'm glad we were able to finally get into it. I don't think we've set up another one just yet, right?
Not yet.
Do you want to book it in straight away, or do you want to just hit me up in a...
Let's do it. Let's book it up straight away.
Okay, same time, same day next week.
Let me do a quick check on the calendar. Let's do it.
All right, locked in, mate. I will see you then.
All right. Thanks so much.
Have a good evening, mate. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. I'll catch you later.
Sounds good. Take care. Bye.
Laters. All right. Shout out to Oak.